What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday night. What's going on? Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. What's up, Tickle Down? How you guys doing? Welcome, everybody. What's up? What's up? Good to see you guys. What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where y'all at? I hope everyone's having a good Saturday night, Sunday morning, maybe. What's up, 36? Maybe Saturday evening, wherever you are. Hey, Missy Sue, there you are. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to keep it all positive tonight, all good news. What's up, Health? All good news tonight. What's up, Sylvia? How you been? Good to see some of you guys. What's up, everybody on YouTube? I can't see everyone popping up on YouTube. I just see, hey, how you doing? Welcome, you guys. Welcome, Brett. So tonight, let's keep it on the positive. I mean, there is a lot to be positive about. There's there's a lot of good news, and instead of tuning into the stuff that they're broadcasting all the time, we should talk about the reality of where this world is going. Good to see you too. Lily Kill. One of these days, I am going to break down the pronunciation of your name. Or you could just like DM me and tell me what your real name is so I can try to bypass the crazy spelling of Lilikio. Anyway, welcome to everyone joining me on YouTube. Welcome to my Instagram family. It's good to be back. I was off last weekend. I was at a plant ceremony, which was incredible. So I was off the radar and kind of, I'd gone radio dark, but it was for a good cause. Anyway, listen, a lot of you guys are already well aware. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate that, man. Hey, Karen, good to see you. So let's keep it real. Let's keep it positive tonight. So many of you are beginning to come into much greater understanding, and many of you probably know more than I do. But the fact that we are all always putting out a vibration, putting out a frequency, right? And so this is no longer kind of a woo-woo concept. It's understood. We can even measure that field. And you're measuring that field all the time, whether you realize it or not, when you walk into a room. Hey, well, look who it is. Welcome, Michelle. Good to see you. Happy Saturday night. So Sri Lanka is in the house. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Hey, Jamie, good to see you. Long time. So when you walk into a room, you understand. You may not realize it, but you're taking the measurement of people in that room, right? And that's because they're putting off a vibration. That's like the whole good vibes, man. That whole thing came from the growing awareness that we do put out vibrations. That's why some people are good vibes, other people not so good. And so it's I don't want to talk about this as if it was not scientifically based, because it is. And that's why people who are in a dark and brooding mood, you sit next to them and you're like, damn, what's going on with them? You can sense that in them. And that's because everything about them is emanating that, and you're receiving it, right? Hey, Moichichi, Singapore's in the house. Welcome, welcome. I love when Singapore's in the house. Good to see you, Moichichi. See, Moichichi's name is really easy to pronounce. Maybe because my last name is Chicho. But it's not spelled quite so simply as Moichichi's IG handle. Anyway, they feel way off. Way off. That's right, Karen. And so we all have this ability. We're all transponders. We're all transistors, and that comes built with this human technology, which is pretty awesome, I think. And so one of the things to be aware of is this. We are transitioning into a higher state of consciousness. Earth is leading the way in that, and we are in this incredible, beautiful orbit with the sun, but the Earth is ascending in a lot of ways, and it's demanding its children ascend as well. And it's doing that for its own survival, but it's also part of the evolution of our species. What's up? I want to wave to everyone, but I don't know how to do it the right way. I wish I had this feature on YouTube. Welcome to my YouTube listeners. So 144,000 is a frequency, not the number of people. I am 144,000. Okay, brown sugar bean. That's a great name, by the way. So, yeah, that's right. People who light up a room, it's like, listen, I used to be in the acting business, in the film business, and you would hear this all the time. You would hear, he's really got, he's definitely gonna, something about him, or something about her. She's gonna make it, she's gonna be big. I can just tell, something about her, right? And what is that something about them that people recognize? That it's like he's going places, It's his confidence, it's his aura, it's the joy he has in everything he's doing, right? And so it's just important to remain conscious that first and foremost, we are always putting out a signal, but we're also always receiving signals, right? And the more aware you can be of those, the greater your perception, the greater your survival rate is. That's right, it's magnetism, and it's an electromagnetism. And guess what the most powerful, you can call it an organ. I don't really want to call it a muscle, although it acts like both those things, People think the brain is the highest, electrical center of the body, and that's not even remotely true. That's a big misnomer. It's the heart. It's the heart. Somebody just gave me a heart emoji. That's right. I think it's almost 10,000 times the voltage of the brain, the electromagnetism that the heart is putting out. And I tell people this all the time, if you looked at the earth and you saw, you've seen the magnetosphere, right? You've seen that beautiful torus that comes out. And I just think it's so cool that we have that too. We're children of the earth, all of us. And we should remember that, we would fight a lot less and share a lot more if we remembered that we were all children of the same mother. And we are. It's not hyperbole. It's not wishful thinking. We are the children of this planet. We were all born here, or at least most of us. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a few among us who were maybe not born here specifically, but that's the exception. Anyway, sending peace and love and blessings. Thank you, 36. Right back at you. Welcome. The heart is a vortex. That's right, Karen. It is. And we're just discovering more and more about the heart and its power. And I really think it is the key to our future and to our evolution. But, the amazing thing about the heart, besides everything that we're learning about it, like the rose neurons that we all have, people thought all the thinking was done in the mind. And then they discovered neurons in the heart. And then they realized why people say, oh, I know it by heart. I memorized it. I know it by heart. And we know things by heart, right? We truly do. It's not woo-woo to say now, because we know, well, there's neurons in the heart, neurons just like the ones in the brain. And guess what? There's some in the gut too. Like I had a gut feeling. No, you literally had a gut feeling. You had these expressions, they come from a deep intuitive place in us that is very much plugged in. We say things like, oh, I had a gut feeling. And it's because we heard it, but that came from somewhere real. Because guess where else there are neurons? In the gut, right? So it's, more and more and more science is going to catch up with what many of the mystical sages and philosophies have been preaching for the longest time, right? Neurons at every energy center. That's right, 36. That's right on. And so I believe, and I've been experiencing this, and I'm sure many of you have as well, that the planet is transitioning into a greater, into a higher frequency, into a higher dimension. You hear people toss around these terms like, we're ascending into the fifth dimension. It's 5D. Hey, Bonnie, good to see you. And there's a reason people say that. It is a scientific fact that we live in a three-dimensional reality. That's why when you go to the movie theater and they give you glasses which allow you to see things not in 2 dimensions, but 3. They call them 3D glasses. And it looks more like real life is supposed to. But we're living in a 3-dimensional reality. That's, everybody understands that, right? But we're ascending into a 5th dimensional reality. And so, like, how can we know that? How can that be proven? I think if you if you want to understand the evolution of consciousness, just go back. This is a funny thing you could try to do, right? Bear with me, okay? Like, if you go and try to watch a movie from like 1941, you're gonna be like what am I watching? No one talks like this. No one thinks like this. Are these people like? I mean, most movies are going to be unbearable because the thinking, the consciousness was so much more limited, even back then, even in our earliest forms of media. You're like, I can't watch this. It's like, it will hurt to watch because you're not. Hey, Skate, good to see you. You're no longer even remotely close to that, to the time and frequency that those films were made, right? I mean, you can even go back and watch some things that you thought were like the best movies of your youth, and you're going to be like, what? Why? I mean, not all of them. Some of them are going to resonate very deeply, but other ones are going to be like, God, this is terrible. You know, I always get a kick out of it. I go back and I watch things that I was like enamored with in my youth, and they're just hilarious to watch as as an adult. Hey, Rain Mama, good to see you. So, and the Earth, thankfully, it's transitioning us, and so we're going to go a little far out tonight, and I'm going to do so unapologetically, because I want to share with you guys some of the beliefs that I've come into, and all the books I've read, and through all the meditation that I do, and the downloads they call them, which I don't really like the term, but I don't know what else to call them. It's like, you're in a meditation, and then I'm sure some of you have experienced this. Going to advice. I don't know what you're talking about, Steve. You know something all of a sudden, all of it, right? That's why it's like they call it a download, because you're not piecing together the information. You're simply you know it already, and you can share it, and it just comes to you, right? So people love that term, downloads. I don't know where it came from. It's very modern day, but it does kind of explain some of the things that, when you close your eyes in meditation, then all of a sudden you open them, you have a new understanding, and you're not sure where it came from, right? Gnosis, that's another word for it. Thank you. And so, I honestly believe the good news is that we are transitioning into a higher state of consciousness. And that state of consciousness is a lighter consciousness. It will demand more compassion. It will demand more empathy, more understanding. And the Earth is bringing us with it, right? The Earth is demanding that we transition with it. And that's for its own survival, because the truth is, in this state of consciousness we're in, there's slim chance of anything less than an apocalyptic, totalitarian, fucking like absurd China-like society, only probably a lot worse. That's the future that we are aiming towards now. If we don't raise our consciousness, is one of totalitarian fascism. I don't know if that can be argued in any court of law. If you look at what is really happening today, what's been happening over the last 125 years. Hey, Clara, good to see you. Humans today have zero empathy, unfortunately. Trojan, I believe that apathy is the greater problem. Yes, empathy is missing, but it's apathy that's rampant, right? And empathy is a symptom of this as well. And I agree with you. It seems very bleak, but you also have to factor in how many contributing catalysts act to make people first of all, to lose their empathy. Second of all, to become apathetic. You know, we're bombarded with information. We don't know what's true. Great to see you too, Claire. Thank you. You know, and that's deliberate, guys, because they want you to not believe a fucking word, right? So they just bombard you with information, and that's part of their misdirection and disorientation, and to keep you from being like, I don't fucking know. Who can keep up? It's a barrage of lies, you know? And so it's on you to be able to discern what is true and what is not. And that's really hard to do for most people, because most people don't have the context to understand what's happening. You know, you have people like David Icke, who have spent their entire lives putting the pieces of the puzzle together so that people can, why am I not able to tell what's true? Well, maybe you can. I don't know that you can. I'm just saying that there's a constant discombobulation that's happening. And that is deliberate by the three-letter agencies. You know, the United States government doesn't know what's happening. You know, they don't have to pretend to be ignorant. They are ignorant. They are completely bamboozled. I mean, they pass bills they never read a page of. I mean, do you understand? Like, they do it to the government, right? Like, why else would you write a 1,500-page bill and give it to these people 1 hour before they're supposed to vote on it, except for the fact that you know they're not going to read a fucking page of it? It's all, you know, confusion and chaos. And they do that deliberately. It's one of their best tactics. So what can you do? You can, first of all, begin to discern what's really happening by quieting the mind, by tuning into your intuition, right? But I want to revisit and focus on this notion and this understanding that the good news is we are all being called upon to raise our consciousness. And the people who don't, the people who are seeing this happen in others, but are feeling, you know, they're going to feel more and more out of place on this planet. And you can observe that probably already in some of your friends, some of your formerly very close friends, some people who have not changed and who are still very much struggling. You know, people like this are feeling very out of place on the planet. And that's sad. But that is in part because of this transition that's happening. And so, you know, look at them and try to have empathy for them. Try to encourage them, because the only way out is in, right? The only way we're going to help this world is to first help ourselves. We have to evolve on a personal level. We have to create peace in our hearts before we're going to see it reflected in the world. The world is truly a reflection of what's in our hearts. And I know that's hard to swallow with everything going on, but it's truer than any of us can realize. It's truer than any of us can really understand, because we're co-consciously creating this reality. And so the good news is that we're going to transition. The bad news is that not everyone is going to come with us. You know, we're going to continue to, there's going to be just like a tuning fork, right? A tuning fork, if I always use this analogy, it's so good. If you've heard it, you know, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but you know, if I bang this tuning fork and it's going at like 432 hertz or whatever, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And this one is at a much different vibration, then they're gonna repel and they're gonna fall apart. And you see this happen, right, with like couples, friends. One friend is changing, one friend is evolving, becoming more and more the introspection and the ability to become conscious of yourself on this planet and what you've been doing and the programs you've been running. That is all a tool for evolution, right? And some people become, you know, very much on this mission, and their spouses or their best friends don't have that desire. They don't have a catalyst to change. And so there starts to be like a mismatch in vibration and frequency. And we start to lose friends. But really, it's not a loss because there's no longer a resonance between you. And it's just kind of, it's part of this reality. And you know, you're always going to love certain friends, but you can't spend time with friends who are making you crazy, right? Like, you know what they're about, and if they have not begun to change. Now, listen, what happens is many of us change and we begin to evolve, we begin to become more conscious, more spiritual, more loving, more compassionate. And then what happens inevitably is the people who are in our proximity, they begin to change. And it's a beautiful thing that happens. And it affects everything and everyone around you. And the people who can't bear it, the people who are so determined to hang on to the way they were, and they white knuckle misery or whatever, you know, whatever it is they're addicted to, whether that be like complaining, and when you guys got together, you used to complain together, and now, you know, you're done telling that story, right? But he's not, or she's not. And so, like, you know, like, do I want to get together with them and just fucking hear them about all their fucking problems? Meanwhile, they don't ask a thing about me. Not that I want to say anything to them anyway. You know, it's like, so you can't feel, I mean, I understand it's hard to lose friends. We only have so many of them. But at the same time, you can't be held back by another person's unwillingness to evolve, to change for the better. Let me read a comment here. I've transitioned most of the people I used to know. Grief over the loss of these friends. Karen, I agree, and it is a loss, right? But it's also it's natural, you know. It happens. So Moichichi said, feeling more alone now, not just because I live overseas, but there's a sort of disconnect between me and my lifelong friends, who I somehow don't resonate with anymore. So Moichichi, this is a very common experience, you know. As you evolve and grow, a lot of the friends who you used to resonate with are not going to, they're not, it's going to be tough for some of them to come with you. And that is what it is. It doesn't mean you don't love them. That doesn't mean that, you know, you're not going to like call them on their birthday or, you know, maybe catch up with them. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to change and there's going to be a possible relationship in the future. But it does mean that for right now, there's a mismatch in frequency, right? And so you should not feel guilt about, you know, outgrowing that relationship, because that's your growth. That's your evolution. And that's the most important thing, right? And Moichichi, I want to encourage you and remind you that, so as those friends fall away, if you keep an open mind and heart and you keep following, you know, your excitement, you're going to realign your tribe. There will be people who are going to step in for those others that fell away, because you're going to attract a different sort of person, someone who's more aligned with who you are right now. And it's really hard when we have history with people, you know, because people only remember how you were, especially our older friends, right? Like, they still call you by by your high school nickname. And, you know, like if you were a trouble, you know, like it gets difficult sometimes. It can be a challenge when you've changed immensely, yet in their eyes, you're, you know, like they have not grasped it. And it's not possible for them to in a lot of ways. They're always going to see you for who you were. And that's tough, especially when you've worked hard to change, you know. Let me see. I feel that I'm always having to move on. No judgment against them. You just can't take everyone with you where you're going. That's true, Ruth. That's very true. And you know, you got to know. And what if it's family, Morning Dove? That's a great question. So listen, this is a big question, guys. What if it's family? Somebody just asked on Instagram. Family can be the hardest to move on from, the hardest to create safe boundaries with, and the hardest to be around if you are in a state of growth. Because there's an old saying, right? And it's a great one. You know what it says? You think you're enlightened? Go spend time with your family. And it's fucking true, right? No one will drive you crazy quite as effectively as your family, right? So what do? I mean, a lot of people have very toxic relationships with their family. A lot of people have toxic relationships with their parents because people don't realize that yes, your parents mean well, but they're not. But their well intention is also in part their idea of what you should be doing, and it has little to do with what you may or may not want to do. And they throw out suggestions, life-changing, monkey wrench suggestions. They do not realize the power of their words, right? I've seen this, my family, they just stopped talking to me at one point because they know if they want to tell me what they've been telling my brother, I'm going to be like, what the, you know what I mean? Like, why would you say that to him? He's not ready to fucking jump into a marriage, like he hasn't even had a girlfriend or a successful relationship in like 3 years. Why are you pressuring him to marry this girl who he fucking had like a weekend fling with? He doesn't even like her. And then my brother's like, I got to get married. I'm like, wait, what? Nobody tells me shit. And that's why, because I will be like, what are y'all talking about? I never forget. My mom asked me if I wished my twin brother a happy anniversary. True story. She said, did you tell your brother a happy anniversary? No, she said, did you tell Frank happy anniversary? And I didn't even know they had got married because they didn't tell me because they knew I would have been like, what? And I said, Frank who? Because I didn't know who she was talking about. And she's like, your brother. I was like, what? Nobody tells me anything, because I was not afraid to speak the truth to them. So they stopped sharing information with me. But that's the price that you pay, right? And of course, I was right. His marriage didn't work out at all. It was a train wreck. They do have 3 beautiful kids. One of them is my godson. God, he's a doll. But anyway, my point is, family can be the greatest challenge, but you need to set safe boundaries, okay? There has to be boundaries. You cannot be driven crazy by your parents, and you cannot be pushed off your path. You have to have confidence in what you're doing. They have to trust you, not the other way around, right? Parents are very important, but after you get into adulthood, they can become more of a nuisance than anything until those boundaries are put in place. So it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. It's one of the most challenging things is navigating around family. But you get to a point where it comes with much greater ease, right? That's the good news. Once you establish those boundaries. Hey, Carol. Yeah. So that's more good news, right? The other good news is, so I started to talk about this, it seems like things are falling apart, right? And that is the what we see when we look out into the world. But the truth is that if you look at any system that is coalescing, whether it be a solar system, whatever it is, if you look at it at a certain point, it's going to look like chaos, right? If you look at someone who has just begun a sculpture, you're going to be like, I don't know. But if you look at it further down the line, it's going to start to take shape, right? Well, we are in this transition right now. And, oh, no worries, Carol. No worries. Thank you for joining. Clara says, I meditate and do many things to raise my consciousness, but I have a sort of fear and anxiety from times seeing the world. So, Clara, that's very, very common, right? A lot of people look out into the world and they have anxiety, and for good reason. But the truth is that your anxiety is only going to make you sick. It's only going to make you unsettled. And so what I do to combat that, because I could fall into the same trap, Claire, is, I'll do a meditation that reminds me that I have everything I need. I have everything I could ever want, and I have everything to be grateful for. And that reminds me to be present in my body, to be content with what's in front of me, to love my family and try and be patient. to return to myself. And when you start to get anxiety about things that are way outside of your scope of control, one of the tricks that I use is you can, this is going to sound crazy, but like, so if you become conscious of your butt on the chair that you're in, right? And you start to put your attention like, okay, just feel your butt on the chair, right? Feel your hands in your hands, What happens is your mind can't persist in anxiety because you've rediverted your attention. So if you become conscious of your body, you can maybe just rub your knees. But all of a sudden now you're back here, you're present. Anxiety lives in the future. It lives in the fantasy, right? In some fantasies. Other fantasies have no anxiety at all. But you understand my point, right? The past, that's where depression lives, right? I mean, you can be depressed about the future, but most of the time it's anxiety about the future, right? But what's happening right now, right here? If you learn to become present, if you get really good at becoming present, you will become really good at relieving your anxiety. And there's all kinds of things that you can do to aid you with that. Meditation being first on the list. And there's 100 ways to meditate. But all of them involve you quieting the mind, quieting the part of the mind that is like, oh my God, did you see what's happening? We are all fucked, or you're fucked, or, everything is screwed. And it's important to be able to do that, right? In today's society, we are bombarded with everything that is going to cause survival programs. And survival programs will put you in a state of anxiety. They'll make you selfish. They'll stress you out. When you're stressed out, officially, you are almost always an asshole. Like, I don't say that. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, but, I got a news flash for you guys. You aren't in traffic. You are traffic, okay? Like, this is a very human conundrum that people fall into. Like, when you get in traffic and you're raging because you think you're in traffic, and meanwhile you are traffic, you're literally part of the problem you are raging against. Stop and breathe. And remember that you're one of the many humans in this long-ass line of cars who are blocking the fucking road. So why rage? So what? You're late. Did you have any control over the traffic? You might as well breathe. Put on some classical spa or music, and relax. Because you're not going to make things go. You're only making yourself crazy, right? By raging about things you have no control about. So just breathe. When I see people, they want to get in front of me, I let them go. I'm like, go ahead, you go. I'm not in any rush. I give myself plenty of time. But I'm certainly not going to stress about traffic, whether I'm late or not. It's not worth it. Those stress programs will exhaust the body. They'll make you sick eventually if you're running them all the time. And that's a fact. So what can you do about it? There's a lot you can do about it. You can be very proactive about it. That's what I do to answer your question. I do things that I know will help me mitigate stress all day, so that when I'm confronted with some of the things that are happening in this world, I can laugh. What is your take on loss, like grieving? That's a good question, Nizmi? Yeah. What's my take on loss and grieving? So there's a lot of people experiencing loss and grief right now. And I think for the most part, most people do not, and this is very unhealthy, and this comes back to bite them in a myriad of ways. You must grieve. You must take the time. You must allow yourself the emotions that come with grief. And for men, that can be very hard. It can feel like a weakness, like I'm crying all the time. No, you're grieving, motherfucker, and you need to. If you don't, you're gonna fucking give yourself an incredible array of chronic illness. And that's only gonna get worse from there. That's what happens to people who do not allow the expression of grief. They hold it in their body until it becomes toxic. And then they end up being grieved over. Because somewhere along the line, somebody put it in their head that if they express their full grief, they might fucking just explode, or it would be too much, or it's, I'm a man, so I can't. No, you have to express. Emotions are energy in motion. They're one of the most powerful components of this humanity, right? I mean, I'm just to return to going far out. I am of the belief that one of the reasons why we are such an incredible species for our celestial and extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial friends and family to observe is because we have this incredibly powerful range of emotions. And I'm told, and I've heard over and over, that one of the things that makes the human species so unique as the hybrid that we are is our massive range of emotions and how powerful they are. And because we have this multidimensional spirit in this human body, the way that we can access and interact with reality is just incredible to observe. And so they learn from us, and believe it or not, many of us learn from them because we're tuned into them. And that may sound crazy to some of you, and others are also tuned in. And no judgment either way. But alas, there is many very benevolent and wonderful beings who are trying to aid humanity in this transition that I'm talking about. And they teach about the polarization of man. And I talk to people all the time about, we live in a planet. You're welcome. Thank you, Nizmi. I'm saying your name wrong. Forgive me. I'm so glad to hear that, man. I'm so glad you tuned in at this time. And they talk about and we see this. Everything is so polarized. That's how you know we're going through a big transition. The greater the difference in resonance, the more polarized everything is going to be, right? And we're seeing this now. But also you have to remember that everything that we're going through is a catalyst for good, for greater light, for more light. And as dark as it may seem, it has to happen. For whatever reason, humanity needs to go through it so that they can experience something better. And I know that seems like, well, when are we going to figure it out? We're going to figure it out when we figure it out. The good news is we have, in my belief system, we have as many opportunities to figure it out as we could ever want. And I believe, that the souls on this planet that are continuing to figure it out, we're going to continue to incarnate on this planet and make it into the heaven that it was always meant to be. That's what I believe. I don't believe in this notion that, heaven is a place. This earth has everything we could ever want. This earth is paradise. It is a heaven right here. But we've created a hellscape for ourselves. We have this notion. We're indoctrinated into all these beliefs, that we are flawed, that we are the problem, that our nature is flawed. That's bullshit. That human nature is not flawed. Original sin is a fucking sales pitch by a corrupt religion to make you think something's wrong with you from birth, okay? What could possibly be wrong with a baby? What could be more innocent than a baby? Nothing. Why does a baby need a baptism? A baptism is essentially an exorcism. Listen to the words. Why would a baby need that? Only somebody completely indoctrinated could ever believe that a baby is anything but perfectly innocent, okay? So that tells you the wool has been pulled over our eyes, and it's because of the nature of man, the good nature of man, that they had to use certain poison pills and sugarcoat them. Pills like religion. Sorry for my religious listeners. But what has religion been the biggest cause of? Strife, bloodshed. I see the best parts of religion are the spirituality, components of it. What Jesus came to teach, what Muhammad came to, the prophets, the things that they said about the nature of man and the goodness in us. and seeing it in others and being generous. That's the best part of it. Everything else, in my opinion, you know, what is it serving? You have people literally on this planet working overtime to bring revelations to life. What is it serving? I don't see it serving anything, and I'm sorry. You know, if that offends you, forgive me. But you know, I have a great relationship with God. I love Jesus. I think the Buddha was fantastic. Muhammad, all of them are great. Okay, but I don't believe that God wants to tell his children, you know, how to use the free will he gifted them with. Sorry, I think that would be completely hypocritical, and I don't believe God's a hypocrite. Nor do I believe that God could ever banish his children to eternal suffering, because I don't know. I have children, and you know, I can tell you right now, there's literally nothing they could do that would ever make me want to punish them forever, let alone torture them in the flames of hell. You know, like, I mean, come on. If you have children or even a loved one or even a pet, is there anything that pet could do that would make you want to torture it for the rest of its existence? Not just its life, but for eternity? And we attribute this to God? That is insane. That is not God. God is the creator of all things, and we are made in its image, his image, her image, whatever you want to call this source, this divine intelligence that put these beating hearts. We don't have to think about anything. Our body is doing 100 trillion things every second, and we don't have to consciously think about any of it. That's how intelligent this life is, and it comes from the Creator. And we've been gifted with aspects of the Creator. We have a divine spark in us, and we're able to create lives ourselves. We're able to have offspring. That is such a gift to be able to create. And we're creating our reality just like God. And we don't realize how powerful we are, because we're creating all of this. So when you look out into the world and you see this mess that we're in, know that you're one of the painters right now. So if you want to see a different color, then you have to start painting with a different brush, right? And that starts with the work you have to do on yourself. Because many of us don't realize that we're contributing to this picture that we see, and we are. But you can't change the mirror by scrubbing the mirror. You got to change yourself, right? You understand the analogy, metaphor, whatever it is I just said, maybe? Let me read some comments. Sorry, guys. I'm grateful for family and being the youngest. I had to learn to be patient with everyone else. Well, that was a lucky lesson you learned, Luth. Evolving and Free says, I went through an exercise years ago of anchoring in a powerful memory of deep strength while running right leg, and now everything I do, I connect with that power. That's amazing, Evolving. Thank you for sharing that. Rubbing your right thigh. I see. That's what you meant to say. So that, like, those are little practices that you guys can adopt. And what the other thing that I always say, just listen, if you find yourself getting overwhelmed and you just become conscious of your breath, just become conscious of your breathing, you know, like, how am I breathing? Okay, my heart rate is, yeah. Just becoming conscious of your breath brings you back into your body, you know, and like little things you can do, right? If I get really stressed out, I mean, like, and I feel like overwhelmed, I'll go somewhere and I'll hold my breath for like 45 seconds, twice. And then afterwards, I'm like, woo! What was I just upset about? I swear to God, like, because it releases all these endorphins in the body, and it really works. Hold on, I have a comment on YouTube. I want to check it. Was there ever a time where you were angry at the world, like oh, come back. Oh yeah, there's the comment. Where your perspective comes from an emotional maturity, but was there ever a time where you were just, absolutely there was a time. Nizmi, I used to have, if you guys would ever see a picture of my college dorm, you would see Tupac Shakur's poster of him giving the double middle finger. I was very angry at the world and myself for a long time. And I had to work through that. It didn't happen overnight. I just had another comment on YouTube. Let me see what it says. Every day I wake up happy. It's my own attitude. I have made it. I have made so many achievements from 1831. You have to have a strong willpower and determination and a very strong mindset. You can set, that's a win-win mindset, Anthony. You know, it's a great mindset to have it. And your mindset's going to affect your experience, right? So if you're kicking your can down the road all the time, you're going to kick your can down the road and do like, I don't know, a party? No. You're going to miss the party because you're kicking your can down the road. Are you going to see the shooting star? Are you going to see the beautiful sun? No. Because what? Because you're looking down. Turn your face to the sun and the shadows fall away. It's one of my favorite expressions, and it's true. And you can always do that, whether the sun is out or not. Let me read some IG comments here, guys. Wonder Woman joined. Oh, wonder with an A. Traffic is in you. That's right. Even though your perception may look a mess, remember that the back of a quilt is ugly, but the front is beautiful. Yes, traffic is an anxiety trigger. Well said. Thank you. I'm happy you did too, Nizmi. I appreciate it, brother. I'm so, like I always trust that these words are going to reach the right ears at the right time. And when I see comments like yours, I know that, I'm in the right place at the right time, and I'm sharing what I need to share for people who need to hear it. And it warms my heart, and I'm grateful for your comment. So thank you. Let's see those Connecticut drivers evolving free. I know. Grateful for all the feeling and healing the grief. Absolutely, guys. It's a big thing. So let me catch up. My God, I'm so far behind. Look at the moon tonight. I heard the moon was gorgeous last night. I'm going to take a peek at it when we finish this. Let me see. Am I caught up yet? If fear is being used to control, it's a lie. It is a lie. And fear is their number one tactic. And that's also why religions are so predominant. Because what does religion say? This is your only life. Don't fuck it up. Do what you're told. Pay your taxes. Go to confession. Go to confession. Like mortality and our understanding of it is one of the biggest reasons we're in the mess that we're in. Because if people understood the true nature of this life, then they wouldn't be able to scare us into doing anything. Do you understand? And everything would change as our understanding of, quote, death changes and evolves, and we start to catch up with many of the races that have been shepherding us along and trying to keep us from pointing, massive weapons of destruction at each other, as well as other places in our solar system. Because we've tried to detonate nukes on the moon. That hasn't worked out so well. We've detonated them in the ocean. We've detonated them in the air. We've never succeeded in detonating them on the dark side of the moon because they've been stopped at least 5 times by UFOs, by our celestial family, who are like, no, kids, no, that's enough. And if you don't believe that, read a book called UFO and Nukes. If you think that sounds like, that's tough to believe, well, go ahead and read the documentation, the extensive documentation, a book called UFO and Nukes, and it'll tell you how many times the UFOs have stopped us from doing something so fucking boneheaded and stupid. Like, what would happen if we detonate a nuke on the dark side of the moon? Good idea. Let's give it a whirl. And then we wonder why they're... Thank you for your wise words and reassurance. Thank you, Anthony. Then we wonder why they don't want to land. Why won't they land? Oh, I don't know. Because we're still doing things like trying to blow up the dark side of the moon for no reason other than to see what happens. I don't know. Why won't they land? Because we're not mature enough to understand and greet them the way that we would need to. And when we are, they will land. I promise. They're waiting to land, for God's sakes. But if they land now, half the townspeople are going to be taking shots at them. You know what I mean? The monkeys are all armed, and that's a good thing for now with this government we have. Don't get me wrong. I'm armed as well. I'm not stupid, okay? And everyone who is holding on to their Second Amendment rights is very wise, wiser than you think, because if and when they get people to clamor to take the guns, it's game, set, match. It's the only thing that separates us from the rest of these countries who are being arrested for social media posts, okay? Like 45 people a day are now being arrested in the UK for social media posts. Not because they're saying things like, you know, like, let's have a KKK rally, or, you know, they're just speaking their opinion about what's happening, but they're being arrested, okay? Because there's no reason why they can't. If they start showing up at people's doors here in the States, there's going to be problems, big problems. But understand that they're manipulating events because they know that the only way they can get the guns is if we beg them to take them. And so the Vegas massacre, hello, have you looked at the details of that case? There's a reason why Google was in fact shadow banning the hashtag multiple shooters during the Vegas massacre. Now, why would Google shadow ban a hashtag on videos during an active massacre taking place in Las Vegas that had multiple shooters hashtag? Why would they do that? Oh, I know, because they were fucking told to by the United States government. Why else would they do it? So who orchestrated the Vegas massacre? Was it the 40-year-old casino veteran video poker player who just decided that he was pissed off about not winning at poker? No history of violence whatsoever. Brought a fucking arsenal up into a suite. Found a way to barricade himself in the room. I mean, like, when you break down the details of these shootings, they make no sense whatsoever. And there's a reason for that, okay? Because one thing the CIA and the three-letter agencies are not very good at is concocting a good story. That's why they need things like the magic bullet and the magic passport that survived the flames, or convincing people that jet fuel melts steel. When in fact, that's impossible, physically impossible. How do you get a whole country to believe that the jet fuel caused a fire so hot that the steel beams just got weak enough to cause a free fall collapse in 210-story buildings? Oh, you got to work very hard at that. And you got to dumb down people as much as possible. And you got to get professionals to say this, you know, and it's fucking ridiculous. And we see the truth now. It's hard in the moment because they use fear and trauma. What does that do? That keeps us from thinking. If you're in a state of fear and anxiety and trauma, you cannot think. Literally, you cannot think. All this blood in the frontal lobe recedes and our reptilian brains are activated. Our fight or flight is activated. And when you're in a traumatic state, it's follow the leader, baby. And that's why they do it. That's why they show it over and over and over. How many times did you see those towers collapse on 9/11? How many times? 100? 200? How many times do they show people jumping off the buildings? They do that because they want you traumatized. If you're traumatized, you're in a state of grief, you're in a state of PTSD. You're not thinking, wait a minute, how the fuck did the building collapse from a plane hitting it? Isn't that impossible? No, you're not having any of those thoughts. So remember that as we go forward, because there's been a lot of fucking antics and things like this, false flags of this nature. And they're not done yet, sadly. They're not done yet because it's a way for them to consolidate power. Every act of this nature is more consolidation. And so you have to be aware so that when the time comes, you can do two things. A, call bullshit. And B, don't fucking comply. Don't comply. Because they have no true authority. The only authority they have is this illusion we have granted them. Nobody has authority over you. Nobody. You've been taught otherwise. That's why you had school. That's why we have all these systems in place. But the truth is, what gives another human being authority over you? Nobody. Nothing does. Period. And if you start to realize that, you start to take your power back. Because the truth is, all the systems in place have to crumble. Half of them aren't even legal. I mean, I was just watching a video and they were like, oh yeah, well, only 13 of the 50 states actually ratified the IRS, so it's all unconstitutional. Yeah, no shit, it's unconstitutional. America was founded as the opposite of this, so we didn't have to pay the fucking queen to live on our land, so we could own our own property. Do we own our own property in America? Oh, that's right, I forgot. If we don't pay our taxes, we'll go to fucking jail. So what do we own? All these systems are broken. It's not true freedom. It's an illusion. It's an illusion of power that they have granted. They have been granted. And the sooner we snap out of it and realize what incredible sovereign beings we have and how powerful we are, and we unite, we will take the world back in one fell swoop. And it's in our future, because we can't go on the way we are. That's for sure. So I just wanted to tell you guys the good news tonight, the good news. And I appreciate my YouTube audience staying with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream, and my IG family, you guys, we've been doing this for a long time and I love you guys. Let me read some comments. Let's see here. Hey Turpin, good to see you. Hell is here, now the earth we live on, and Jesus was a prophet, a messenger, just like Muhammad. I think they were all messengers and prophets, my friend. I think that's what they came here for. I don't believe in this notion of a Messiah. We are all the Messiahs. And that's why I think Jesus said, you will do what I do, And I'm not trying to blaspheme or offend anyone. I think Jesus was an amazing teacher. I think Muhammad was an amazing teacher. I think the Buddha was an amazing teacher. We've had so many teachers, but what they taught was taken and then used as a system of fear and control. And in the most radical of cases, it's been used to hurt people and justify atrocities. And we see that still happening today. And that's my problem with it. Let me see here. What else we got? What else we got? What else we got? 36 Wiz. Would you say, Faust, that with the work you've done, you have been able to access fifth dimensional reality, new earth frequency, and that your outward reality reflects higher states of being? Absolutely, 36. Absolutely. And I'm encouraging you all to explore this because it's magical. And you will see it reflected in your day-to-day life. You will go outside and there will be this cloud shaped like an angel, just for you. And listen, I did a meditation this morning, and at the end of the meditation, I said, if I have connected with the divine, then send me a sign. Surprise me in a way that I won't be able to miss. And every time I do that, something appears in my day that I'm like, wow, there it is. Look at that. And you can do the same thing. I think there is such a thing as true happiness, my friend. I really do. And I experience it most of the day, every day. And I think that if that is a question for you, then there's definitely a lot of, I don't want to say soul searching that you have to do, but you have to take a look at what you've been doing in your life and who you've been doing it for. Because what I've found is the people who are most unhappy are the ones living the most for other people. They're doing the least for themselves. And they're filled with resentment. They're filled with anger because they're not being true to themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. They're only living for other people, and that is a path to misery and anger and resentment. And so you've got to get off that path. It's not selfish to do for you, right? It's a necessity. It's self-care. It's self-love. We're in a society that makes you think all these crazy things, but most of them aren't true. Most of what you've learned is not true. Really, there's a lot of relearning to do. And so if that's a question, then I encourage you, my friend, to really take a look at what you've been doing and who you've been doing it for. Because that's my observation, is that most people who fall into that are very much stuck in a hamster wheel, just doing and doing for other people, going to a job they fucking hate, taking care of this person, take care of that person, and then having no time to do anything that makes them happy. Whereas, you know, I begin my day with, I bring my kids to school, I come home, I meditate. After that, I'll get in an ice bath, right? Then if I have time, maybe I'll red light, but then I'll get to work. I'll work a few hours, and then I'll do something else for me. Then I'll go pick my kids up, you know, have dinner, do some more work. But I make time every day to do something that's going to really set my soul, you know, aflame. And you should too. And if you don't have something, look for what makes you happy. Look at the different modalities, exercise, yoga. I mean, pickleball is very popular these days. Everyone's finding something different, but you got to find something that's going to make you happy, that's going to light your soul up, right? So just encourage you guys to do that. I'm going to read one or two more comments and then call it a night. Turpin, I will never read a Holy Bible. It's been rewritten. I'm with you, Turpin. We don't have to, I mean, that goes, people who know me know that I don't put much stock in the Old Testament. I mean, the new one's all right, but I will die for my Second Amendment rights. I'm so far behind in these comments. Oh my God. Let me see here. Let me try to. It's always been survival of the most adaptable. Very true. And people are realizing Darwin was hijacked as well. That's a whole nother live stream. Maybe next week I'll talk about Darwin and about this notion of survival of the fittest, and how truly the same families that have corrupted this world and corrupted everyone's image of this world through war and genocide and atrocities. And they've defined our societies by these events, but it was just them. It was all them. And they sent us to fight their wars. And then millions of us have died. And that's such a scar. But we aren't responsible. And if we knew what really happened, we would have never lifted a fucking finger, let alone a gun, to go and fight for them. And when people learn the truth about every war that has gone on, people are going to be very, very upset. No one is going to want to take up arms again, and that's the truth. The tattoo on your chest, right side, is it a leaf? Right side. This is my right side. My right or your right? This is a water crystal, and this is a lot of geometry. This is like Flower of Life, Metatron's cube. It's got the 5 platonic solids. Anyway, FAUST, you know, I always thank you, Turpin. I appreciate you, brother. Listen, I love you guys. I'm sorry I fell behind in the comments. I was just ranting and raving. But I think I'm going to wrap it up. I don't know what I missed. Okay, I think I'm caught up. Listen, thank you guys. Thank you, Beast. Thank you. This is the iTaurus. They have an Instagram page if you guys want to check out their stuff. I love these. 1000%, brother. I've had a hard time just because I lost my dad at a young age, and I feel that I've been storming through life, not really noticing or caring about it. Well, tomorrow's a new day, brother. Tomorrow's a new day, right? And it's never too late. It's never too late to change. Thank you, Faust. You are awesome. Thank you, Clara. I appreciate the comment. Moi Chichi, good to see you. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And much love to all you guys. Don't forget I have a YouTube channel. Well, you guys on YouTube, no. You guys don't forget I have a YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. I love you guys. Everyone have a great, great week and spend it with your loved ones. Thank you so much.